Just this once. And I want to
subscribe.
Kar-D Kaizoku.
In today's video, we'll be taking a look at each leader and determining what role they would be if they were a League of Legends champion. I actually haven't played League in like 2 years, so I don't know if the roles have changed since then. So keep in mind that I'm playing with like a 2-year-old mindset of how the game was back when I used to play. Why am I doing this video? I don't know. I thought it would be funny, but it may not be funny, so I may be doing this all for nothing. We'll see how it goes. If this is good enough to upload, then, well, I guess you'll see it on my channel. Okay, here goes nothing. So Zoro's leader ability lets him buff all characters on board for 1 Dawn by 1k. Since it's like a buff kind of effect, that sounds like he'd be a support, right? That makes sense. Right, Law is really complicated. If you have a full board, you can swap 2 characters. What role would that fit? You need a prerequisite, so it's kind of like a combo kind of leader. You can turn something weak into something strong. He'd be a mid laner then, kinda? He sort of sounds like a form change kind of champion. Do those champions go mid? I don't know, but feels like a mid laner to me. Probably might be toxic as well. So I think that fits. Red-green Luffy, his leader ability lets him untap another character, Supernova or Straw Hat, 4 cost or less, and then buff them. So what role would that be? It sounds like support right from the beginning, because he can buff another character and let them attack. Yeah, I think he's another support champion. I'll make a final pass at the end, see if I have to change anything, but for now, put him in support. Next is Odin. You can trash a card to untap 2 Dawn, so he sort of self-buffs himself. Either top lane or jungle. I think giving himself more Dawn is more of like a sustain kind of effect. So I think jungle fits him. So Flamingo. For 2 Dawn, you can reveal the top card of your deck and then cheat out a 4 cost 7 Warlords card. That sounds like a mid laner kind of ability. We'll put him in mid. Doflamingo players are pretty salty as well about the meta, so only seems right. Next is Blurple Kaido. When one of your opponent's characters is KO'd, you may add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active. That sounds top or jungle as well. Since he doesn't really buff himself, and I established that Odin's Dawn untapping is a sustain effect, maybe jungle. It's Blurple Kaido as well. Blurple Crocodile, on the other hand. When you activate an event, you may draw 1 card if you have 4 or less cards in your hand and haven't drawn a card using this leader's effect during this turn. Pure utility, but it's selfish utility. So if it's like a self buff, but it's not an offensive buff though. If it was like an offensive buff, it would fit in AD carry. Maybe he'd be a top laner actually, if I treat events as like gold, and top laners just like to farm gold all game till late. Well, 2 years ago they did, I don't know about now. Move on to King. You have 10 Dawn, give all your opponent's characters minus 1k. Sounds like a top laner ability too, debuffing. We'll put him there for now. Move on to OP02. Whitebeard. It's just a leader ability, it just hurts himself, but I think I have to factor in that he's a 6k body. So taking health to do more damage. That sounds like a top laner to me. Put him in top. Next is Garp. When you attach Dawn to this leader or your characters, reduce 1 cost of up to one of your opponent's characters, 7 or lower. That sounds like a support effect as well. Move on to green-blue Sanji. You play a character without an effect from your hand. If you have 3 or less characters in play, set up to 2 of your Dawn is active. That sounds like a jungle ability. think anything that untaps your Dawn, I'm putting in jungle. We haven't had any AD carries yet. The Kinemon. When you have one or less characters in play, reduce the play cost of the next 3 cost or higher Wano Country type character card you play from your hand by 1 during this turn. That lets you cheat out something quicker. This might be AD carry because it's a pretty selfish effect, but it doesn't buff. But it does make your board stronger. Maybe we'll put Kinemon in AD carry. Does that make sense? I was thinking mid too. Yeah, maybe mid fits better because there's like manaless champions in mid, and playing something out 1 turn earlier sounds like it would be like a manaless effect. Keep them in mid. Still don't have an AD carry card. I didn't think this through beforehand. I didn't prepare this beforehand, so maybe none of the cards fit AD carry at all. Next we have Emporio Ivankov. At the end of your turn, if you have 0 cards in hand, draw 2 cards. Sounds very top laney, right? If you have no resources, get resources. Sounds like something a top laner would want to do. Next is Magellan. When a Dawn card is returned from the field to the Dawn deck, this leader gains plus 1000 power. Actually, this may be the first AD carry sounding card, because he just buffs himself. Yeah. Oh, Magellan's an AD carry. Next is Purple Black Z. When attacking, Dawn -4, KO one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 3 or less and gives this leader plus 1k. This is screaming mid laner to me. Too many effects in one card, and it buffs an offensive attack. And then next we have Smoker. He can give -1 cost to a character and then buff himself by 1k if there's a 0 cost in play. This might be AD carry as well. It sort of makes me think of Vayne. If you get 3 stacks on somebody, you get 2 damage. If you have like a 0 cost in play, you get plus 1k damage. They're very similar vibes, I think. I don't know. Next up is Portgas the Ace. When this leader attacks or is being attacked, you may trash any number of events or stage cards from your hand. Each one of those cards gives you plus 1k power. This sounds like an AD carry card as well. Huh. We just needed to wait until the later half of OP02 to find AD carry type effects. Right, moving on to OP03, we have Kuro. K3, tap 2 East Blues, and then you can rest another opponent's character that costs 5 or less, and then tap your leader. That sounds very top laney combo. What does Arlong do again? Dawn ×2 when attacking. For 1 Dawn, cheat out a 4 cost. Very similar to Doflamingo, and if we put Doflamingo in mid, we have to put Arlong in mid as well, because their leader effects are pretty similar. Next we have Nami. As an additional rule, when your deck reaches 0 cards, you win the match. And then she can mill a card when you attack with her, with 1 Dawn attached. A useless leader reminds me of a useless champion in Yuumi, and Yumi's a support. So we'll put Nami where Yuumi belongs, where all the other E-girls belong as well, and the girlfriends of all the League of Legends players. Next is Iceberg. This leader cannot attack. Activate main, return a Dawn. You can cheat out a Galila Company card that costs 5 or less. Where did I put the other cheat cards? Mid lane? Be a mid lane kind of effect. Cheating something out is sort of like a burst spell. Burst ability. So it makes sense to put him in mid. We have Lucci up next. Rob Lucci. You may discard 2 cards to untap your leader when a character is KO'd. That also sounds like a mid lane ability, kind of like an assassin ability, like a Kali's ult that can hit twice, or another assassin that can reset on kill. Yeah, mid lane Lucci, that feels right. Next is Black Yellow Charlotte Linlin. Attach 2 Dawn, pay 2 Dawn, you can heal a life if you're at 1 or less. Sustain means maybe jungle. She heals a life. Sounds right to me. Katakuri. Katakuri just buffs himself and lets you see the top or bottom card of your deck. That kind of reminds me of Ash. Her Hawkshot is kind of like his, what was it called in Japanese? Friggin' Kenbun Shokuhaki. So we'll put him in AD carry, since he Pretty much just buffs himself and lets him look at something far away, kinda. Alright, that wraps up OP03. This tier list has Uta as the next leader. I have no idea what promo Uta even does. Let's see. Activate main once per turn. For 1 Dawn, up to one of your characters without an effect gets plus 2k during this turn. Well, it's not to herself. So I think this is a support card. She buffs other characters. Next up is starter deck Luffy. Yeah, I'm just going by the order that they show up here. I didn't prepare it beforehand. So sorry if it's not too organized, but at least they're grouped by set. And all the starter decks are together. Oh, but OP04 comes after this. And Big Mom's at the bottom for some reason. Oh, whatever. So Luffy lets you shuffle a rested Dawn around. But he can also buff himself. This sort of sounds like a support effect though. Because there are some supports that can buff themselves or pass the buff on to somebody else. Right? Put them in support then. What champions do that? I don't know. If I think if I try to name any, I'll probably get it wrong, so I won't name any at all. Next is starter deck Kid. Start a card lets you untap. That sounds like a mid laner ability. It's similar to Lucci. It would be an assassin. Next is starter deck Crocodile. Return 4 Dawn to bounce a card back to hand. He might be a mid laner, like a control mid laner, instead of a support. Because this doesn't really buff anything else. Or debuff anything else. Yeah, we'll put Crocodile in mid as well, as like a zone type mid laner. Next is starter deck Kaido. He just sort of sets himself behind to make you lose a life. Fairy Feast or Famine. Where would he fit? Something that costs a lot to gain you a benefit. Maybe top lane? And just from his art, he looks like a top laner. I shouldn't let that bias me, but the effect sounds like a top lane effect as well. Right, moving on, we have starter deck Shanks. I actually don't know what he does as well. Activate main once per turn. Return 3 Dawn. All your film type characters with plus 2k for the turn. But we established that those kind of effects are support effects, so we'll put him in support as well. Next is starter deck Sakazuki. Crash a card from your hand, pay 3 Dawn, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0. I think that's mid lane type behavior. A lot of conditions to fulfill to kill something. Next we'll look at starter deck Luffy. My character is KO'd, give up to one rested Dawn to this leader. That sounds like a pretty selfish effect, so maybe he'd be an AD carry as well. Maybe jungler? Because he'd be like those junglers that whenever they kill a jungle camp, they heal. Like Warwick or Lee Sin. Yeah, maybe jungler actually. Put him in jungle for now. We'll rethink it later if we need to. Yamato gets tanky when she's low on life. Sounds like top laner shit. Put him in top lane. Next is OP04. We have Vivi, who cannot attack. You can draw a card, give something rush. Sounds like a support, since she cannot attack. Like useless Yumi. Next we have Green Purple Doflamingo. He just gets 2 active Dawn at the end of the turn. That sounds very jungle, since all the other Dawn unresting effects I put in jungle. Just trying to keep consistent here. Next is Green Black Isho. Gives -1 cost, and then you can untap a character that costs 5 or less. Both purely utility effects, so he might be a support as well. We have Rebecca, who can draw a card, but also cannot attack. You have to put her in support along with Vivi. This Queen, who can heal when you're low on life plus card total. And if you have an 8 cost or more out. Yeah, we put Black Yellow Big Mom in jungle, so Queen would go in jungle as well, because they have similar playstyles. Next is Purple Yellow Crocodile. You return a Dawn from the field to your Dawn deck. Add 1 Dawn is active. He gets 3 Dawn for using Dawn. What role would that fill? Maybe jungle? because it is just a ramp effect. Yeah, jungle feels right. And lastly, we have starter deck Big Mom for some reason. When 2 Dawn attach, you can add a card from the top or bottom of your life area to your hand and then replace it. Sounds pretty tricky. That sounds like a mid laner ability. I think she makes sense in mid. Alright, that's our tier list. Let's see if we need to change anything around. Dial, is he a top laner? He just draws you a card, but I think that's indicative of a top laner. They want to be self-sustaining and stay up there. King makes sense. Hyper makes sense. Ivankov makes sense. Kuro makes sense. Kaido I'm not too sure about, but I put him up here. I think out of all these roles, it makes sense to put him in top. Or is it better as an AD carry? I don't know. I don't really know where to fit Kaido. So just based on how he looks, I put him in top lane. Kaido is Yamato is definitely top lane. Odin, jungle makes sense. Lurple Kaido in jungle makes sense. Sanji in jungle makes sense. Yeah, these all make sense. Mid lane is all like either complicated abilities or things that cheat out other characters. Kinemon reduces the cost of a character. Yeah, I'm still torn between mid or AD carry for him. Because it's a selfish effect, but it doesn't buff the leader card itself. Oh, but like Heimerdinger is like a mid laner, right? So we'll keep Kinemon here. And Z, complicated effect, can KO and buff himself. Arlong cheats out something, Iceberg cheats out something, Lucci double attack, like in a mid lane assassin. It can double attack like a mid lane assassin. Crocodile zones. He bounces anything back to hand. Kind of like a CC mid laner. Like Oriana or something. Sakazuki kills something and it's a complicated effect. And then Linlin can manipulate life. Would that make her a mid laner though? But she needs 2 Dawn to do it. Maybe she fits more in top lane? Manipulating life. Is that what a mid laner would do? I guess when I think about it, it's like Twisted Fate, picking a card. You're putting a trigger on top. Yeah, we'll keep her in mid. Magellan and AD carry makes sense, he buffs himself, so does Smoker and Ace and Katakuri. For support, it's all the leaders that buff other characters. Like Zoro, Luffy, Uta, Shanks, starter deck Luffy, and then the ones that can't attack with Vivi and Rebecca. What did I put Nami in support? Oh wait, because she doesn't do anything? Maybe she should be a top laner? Because she has an alternate win condition. And the only other champion that I think of that has like an alternate way to play is like Tryndamere, who ignores fighting people and just tries to go for towers. Maybe Nami's a top laner then? And Garp just minus costs. Isho minus costs and lets you restand something, yeah. Alright, so this is my final tier list of what each One Piece card game leader would be if they had a role in League of Legends. Was this video entertaining? I don't know. There's like a hurricane hitting my area soon. So I've been preparing for that. So I didn't have too much time to make like a well thought out tier list topic. I thought this would be something fun that I could just poop out. But if this is something you guys don't like, I don't care. I'm still gonna upload whatever I feel like, because this is like art for me and I don't want you guys to influence my art. And even though I spend like half my day making these videos, I make like 10 bucks a day. So it's not like I'm doing this for the money either. So I'll just keep doing what makes me happy. And if that doesn't make you happy, okay, bye.
Car D Kaizoku.